Welcome into the Marvel Stuff Podcast, where, like we do every single week, we shit on Halloween. It's a terrible holiday, and we're here to talk bad about it.
I'm
Josh, why don't you
90.
go first?
Pretty sure you just got us booted off Facebook by swearing in the first 30
That's
seconds.
not a swear word. That is not a swear word. Don't let anyone lie to you.
That was them coming to get us. That sound, that reminiscent of
Halloween. How do we feel about Halloween before we actually get into our Marvel stuff?
I know you are not a Halloween guy, Coach. You've talked about it before, I think last year, but I'm all about the spooky scaries. I like horror movies, like classic ones. I like just the spookiness of it. Batman's my favorite hero. There's lots of emo boy, Gotham, goth Batman Halloween.
I'm okay
stuff.
with that kind of stuff. I kind of like the whole. I like the Gotham, the gothic look. I kind of like the hot gothic chick thing. I like the lore of Halloween stuff.
I like how you just implied that just the hot emo girlfriend.
Yeah, Halloween emo girl.
I mean, I wasn't getting. Don't push me. No, I have to guess that you're a Halloween fan. If I had to guess.
Oh, huge! It's my favorite holiday. I love it so much.
See, I don't go that far, so I think you guys are just the other ends of the spectrum. I'm just right there in the middle somewhere. But speaking of cool core story arcs involving Batman, me and Noah are going to read Batman Haunted Knight over on Gotham City Rogues and do a whole review on it. So you guys come check that out for Halloween.
See, we should have just read The Long Halloween.
I know, but that was too many people have done that. That's why I chose the prequel to The Long Halloween.
That's a good point. I'm gonna have to listen because I actually don't know that one. So I was just told to listen to The Long Halloween. Is there any Marvel ones, Noah? You're our expert. Is there any Marvel things we should be looking into for Halloween season?
Yeah. So I mean, always there's Frankenstein when he is part of Sickle. The Sickle run, because there's Sword, there's Shield, and there's Sickle. And Sickle,
I was gonna say he was part of Sword. Last I knew, I don't know about the Sickle thing.
Yeah, Sickle is definitely part of think of it like Blade, Elsa. It's the supernatural side of Shield and Sword, because Sword is intergalactic.
So
Shield is American.
Justice League Dark. That's what it is. Got it.
Pretty much, yeah. It has Frankenstein, Elsa, Blade sometimes work with them, Moon Knight.
We also got to mention that Dracula himself is pretty ingrained within the Marvel Comics universe at the very least, and very tied with Blade, clearly. So, he's a Halloween monster poster child, and he's pretty well involved in the Marvel Comics universe.
I tried the
Blade
Marvel.
Is getting...
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. No, you got it. No,
I was just going to say, Blade has a new series out right now with him and his daughter, so another Halloween-esque type thing. So,
nice.
And
I saw that. I was curious if the MCU is going to go that way at all. I think it might. I think there's a chance it could have.
Well, I think they've seen lots of successful father-daughter type stories. Like we had Logan and The Last of Us are both pretty hard-hitting mediums that are getting a lot of attention or got a lot of attention at the time. So I could see them working something. And Kratos and the new God of War game, obviously that's his son, not his daughter, but same kind of concept.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be good stuff. I tried the Marvel Zombies once.
The comic book.
Yeah,
it doesn't. It's not very good. DC's running as DC's doing DC versus vampires right now, but conversely, they did Deceased, which was like a zombie storyline, and that is actually really good. If you guys want more comic recommendations that aren't Marvel, sorry.
All right, no, you're good.
But I mean, Marvel Zombies 1 is really good, and once they start going to 2, 3, and 4, then they do kind of because then Howard the Duck joins, and it gets weird. But the first Marvel Zombies is a really good one.
You guys heard it here. Noah hates Howard the Duck, who is easily
the best character. I will say it with I will say it from the rooftops. He is a terrible character.
Stay with his whole chest. That's what's up. But hey, we're here to talk about Werewolf by Night. If you guys wanted to see our reaction to She-Hulk for the last newest episode, we did that on Friday. So already done and said. So go check it out. But now we're going to talk about the brand new 80 minutes? It was a movie of sorts.
It didn't seem that long.
Maybe it was 60. It might have been 60. You're probably right.
I actually didn't look. But so I went into this knowing as little as possible. I didn't look at anything. I tried not to even know what the plot was.
I at one point thought it was a show. I literally thought this was a few part show. That's how little I looked into it intentionally, so I could get the full experience with this first viewing.
So then it goes. Well, first off, Well, let's start with 3 minutes of non-spoiler talk about the show. So anyway, if you're listening for the next few minutes, it's gonna be spoiler free, and then I'll wave my hands around and I'll say spoiler time, and then I'll do it just like that, just so it's very masculine.
Yep, and then you can meme it. Jamie, take notes. Oh yeah, shout out to Jamie. Before I get any further, he's going to be cutting up some cool YouTube shorts for us. So keeping us a little bit relevant. And us old guys need all the help we can get. So
all right,
shout out, young Jamie.
Good work. All right, spoiler free.
Yes.
Just a little bit, so if you didn't know what it was and you want to go into it, and you're debating if you want to watch it. It's sort of an old school classic. Like when I say classic horror, I don't mean like, Friday the 13th song. I'm talking like classic, old school.
Like Nosferatu and Bram Stoker.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Like even the way the action is sort of shot. It's very similar if you think about the first couple episodes of WandaVision. They went in, a little bit. They did this show, and they did it to the best of their ability with the technology of that time. And they wanted to try to recreate it with a little bit of Marvel magic. So that's sort of what the show is. It's a monster hunt, sort of, with a little bit of twists and turns. But it does introduce some characters. We'll get into this in the spoiler stuff, but it introduces some characters who are going to be in the MCU. So that's...
some of these guys showed up more in, if you're familiar with the comic books, like the Marvel Knights storyline. So it was essentially the thing they did back in the 90s where it explored more of the darker characters, a la Ghost Rider, Blade, Punisher.
I'm not saying if any of them are in this.
Nope, not at all. I'm just saying that's the universe they're kind of set in here.
We want you to just know that it's sort of that vein. It's so if you're going into a watching expecting it to be scary, it's really not. Unless 1940s cinema scares you, then maybe it is a little bit.
Yeah, unless you're 8 and live in 1940 and somehow got this podcast to kind of do this weird time travel thing, then yeah, like you're gonna be freaked out. But
I liked it.
I'm with you.
I think let's everyone give your little quick opinion about it, spoiler freestyle. Just did you like it? Is there anything about it that stuck out, Josh? Noah, actually, no, you go.
Yep, Noah's got it. Go ahead.
All right, yeah. So for me, I loved it. I thought it was great. It definitely is that Universal monster movie, the Wolf Man, Invisible Man, Dracula feel to it. I thought it got a lot darker than I was expecting with a couple of the scenes, the way that they handled some of the quote unquote gore. I thought it was beautifully shot. So I raved about it. I wish it wasn't a series. I thought it was a phenomenal special, and I hope they do more with it. I hope we get more specials.
This was kind of a fun one. Not everybody really knew about it. Marvel, they did a little bit of advertising here and there, but for the most part, people thought the first holiday special was going to be the Guardians Christmas special, which is not the case. They did this really fun Halloween storyline, and like Coach said, they used some of the old practical effects, and I love that it was the black and chrome, black and silver. It looked like the deep blacks. It's just some cinematography dork stuff that you got to be into if you're into just that genre of things, and that's your pick your poison. I think it's really fun. I don't really have any complaints. I like, not to get too spoiler, but we definitely went some Wizard of Oz on it eventually, so that was pretty cool too. Introduction of some fun characters. Loved the development, the relationships, and the way, like Noah said, the way they handled gore, and they avoided the TV mature. They got TV 14 because it wasn't gory red. I thought that was pretty clever on their part.
Yeah, it's fun, and it's like you said. I think I would point out that it's got fun characters. It's kind of cool. It's kind of interesting. So I'll tell you, if you're just a Marvel person and you just want to watch the Marvel stuff, this isn't going to be like, you're not going to need to, but I still would suggest it. I would tell you, go give it a try. It's not that long. It's maybe an hour, if that. But it's different, and it's fun, and it's kind of cool, and you'll at least get a different experience out of it, and it's special. So you'll get a couple characters that'll stick around, which is fun. All right.
I got to give Marvel props just the fact that they had the gall to go ahead and do this. They're like, hey, we're going to do a cool special in Marvel Comics for many, many years in DC as well. They tried to do this kind of offshoot horror comic thing that isn't involved with, superheroes as much, the big team up things. And it has its own niche market. So I think even if you're not a Marvel fan, you can have fun viewing this, even as like Coach said, a classic horror fan. So I don't know why you'd be listening to this podcast. Yeah, exactly. No, I thought of that already, but maybe Jamie will clip that up and we'll get them a couple more viewers. Like, they need the extra money.
All right, ready? Spoiler time. All right, let's spoil it up. So the main character it's hard to decide really who the main character is. The one that we need to know the most is Elsa, Jake. But Jake is probably the main character, at least at the beginning anyway.
I'd call them co-leads, him and Elsa, but fair enough.
Elsa's a really cool character. And spoiler alert, she's going to stick around. And I think she was fun in this episode. I think it was a really cool introduction. And as we were just talking about the whole black and white thing and all that stuff, that's great and it's really cool. But it's modern enough, and she's around for our timeline now.
You can tell it's still 4K as well. Like it's definitely still high quality. You're not like watching it through. I did appreciate that they did a couple of camera flashes. I don't know if you guys noticed it, but I did. Where they did little like film things or a little shake or like a little sun splotch. I'm like, oh my God, this is perfect. This is just speaking to that weird genre of nerd that I don't really jump into as much, but I love it.
Just in terms of timeline, Elsa and the other,
it's modern day.
They're around for our time. You might not realize it immediately when you're watching this.
Well, you get Transylvania vibes, like they're in Dracula's castle or something. It's kind of how it feels, but it's not the case.
Yeah. So, the world building is kind of cool. It's like a cool little monster hunter secret society. As I always joke, I don't know how there's 9,000 different secret societies in the Marvel.
I buy this one though.
Universe,
I don't like how there's so many of them, but this one I'm on board for because it's got more of the supernatural element. It's like kind of culty, but also kind of like
I like the kind of cultiness to it.
It's like a culty Hunters from like Supernatural. That's how I felt. I felt like I was watching a cult version of the Supernatural like Hunters, and it was really cool.
Josh, did you recognize Bloodstone as soon as you heard it? Like when you heard...
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Bloodstone, you knew who
I'm not like well versed in Elsa Bloodstone, but I know enough about her and like some of her correlations with the Marvel, the Marvel Knights and the Midnight Suns and all that good stuff. Like her involvement in different that weird subgenre of Marvel. But I can't say that I'm the expert here. That's for sure.
I'm really happy. Like for me, the really fun thing was the fact that we keep getting secret societies, but they're like building off of each other. Like if we would have gotten this secret society of hunters before we would have gotten magic from Doctor Strange, it would have just seemed so weird. Like Marvel's doing a really good job of like leading us to the next big thing that makes sense. Like if we would have jumped from Avengers to this, it wouldn't have made sense. But now,
but where do the red daggers fall in here? Like, how important are the red daggers to this universe?
Yeah, especially when it seems like there's only 3 of them. Whatever.
That's why they're secrets. There's only 3.
There's only 3 guys.
Yeah, that's more just like a book club, man. That's not a secret society.
Book clubs are great. Good way to expand your horizons. So blood. When as soon as I hear Bloodstone, so the whole introduction, like we said, it's all black and white. They're kind of walking in, they're talking about the monster hunters, and they're talking about this bloodstone, which is a good way to affect monsters in different ways.
I loved the evil stepmother and the way that she overacted this part so hard so she could really match the energy of those old movies. Yeah, you gotta respect that.
Here's the thing. So this, to me, that was sort of my giveaway, right? So the scene introduces everybody and the stepmother and all the different hunters and even Jake as we meet him. They're all acting as if they exist in the 50s. And they're all acting as if they live in this time. Like I said, they lived in this, not the 50s, like the 1800s. They were acting
like the 1800s, yeah.
Back in the Dracula. Sorry, not as it was filmed in the 50s. But I thought it was a keen little giveaway that she did not act like that at all. She acted like she was from the modern world the whole time.
Jessica Jones-esque. That's the vibe I got off her the whole time. I was like, this is some Jessica Jones stuff, and I'm into it.
Yeah, she acted
like kind of looks like her.
Yeah, from the teaser trailer, it literally looks like that actress whose name is on the top of my head, Kristen Ritter. Yeah.
Yeah, there was 30 seconds in my life, and I was like, wait, what? But then she said she's this daughter.
Why is she here?
That doesn't work. That doesn't make sense. But yeah, so I thought it was a keen little giveaway to the ending that she sort of didn't act as if she lived around with Dracula like all of them did. So I thought that was kind of cool. But like you said, all the other characters are very, I guess, in character. They're very.
I guess Jake could be kind of outside of the. Yeah, he's a push. You can have him either way. I don't think he acted like it was a different. He just has that vibe about him.
He was just so nervous that you really couldn't gauge what. And I mean, because he was acting nervous, and I know who Jake is, I was like, oh, yeah. But the way that he was playing it, you couldn't gauge that he was. You could tell he wasn't a part of the society. Like they kept talking about him, but you couldn't tell that he was like back in the 50s or modern. He was just some weird dude.
He was some weird dude. But I liked like I said, I liked the stepmom. I liked all the hunter. I loved the introduction, the idea of there's going to be this sort of hunt to earn the bloodstone. And then
this felt like Agatha Christie. Like that's the level of like weird murder mystery creepy. I was like, yeah, he's coming out. He's announcing to everyone with his dead body. I'm like, whoa, all right.
Hilarious. That was
so
good.
Funny. It was really
like I said, they came out with an old school prop.
Yep.
And they like it was so good. And he came.
What's the Zatar? Oh man, what's the stupid guy that reads your fortune at theme parks? I should know that because I worked at one forever. It doesn't matter, but that's what it was like. Where he's about to tell me his fortune.
Yeah, it was giving me Crypt Keeper or a Zoltar.
That's what. Yeah, it's fine.
It was creepy, but I kind of liked it. I was into it. I thought it was a fun setup. I thought all the hunters were kind of cool, and of course the hunt goes off. And what do we think of the action? Because there ended up being a lot more action in here. Some of it was, again, I thought was a cute little nod. The way Elsa fought was very modern, very, Black Widow, whereas everyone else sort of fought with big, long.
Yep. Like the guy with the battle axe. I was like, oh my god, that would never actually work that well. But hey, why not? We got the intro of Man Thing, who was essentially a Marvel Swamp Thing, and I like how he was the monster. Another
cool design, very cool design.
Looks a lot pretty comic accurate. So I was into that for sure.
He looked cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they were hunting, but Jake was not. Is sort of the spoiler, but yeah. I liked sort of the action. I liked the fight scenes. I liked the kills. I thought specifically were pretty cool. Yeah,
especially like I said, the first moment that I was like, "Oh, this is different," was when she was fighting the guy with the gauntlet. I don't remember all of their names.
She took the bolt to the face.
Oh yeah, the bolt to the face was sick.
And then
that was Walking Dead.
It
was like watching The Walking Dead there. I was like, nice. I don't even watch The Walking Dead, and I know that's a Walking Death kill.
The fact that I thought what was coolest was after he died, he didn't just like die. She like had to like cover his mouth, and hide in a bush, and it was so cheesy. Like you could totally see her. He could totally, you know what I mean?
There was enough blood there.
Realistic.
There was enough blood there that like they could have bumped up. Like the rating probably would have been bumped if it wouldn't have been black and white. So that was expert use. Yes, if it wouldn't have been. Yeah.
But it was sort of cheesy. It was sort of fun. Like I said, she moved around in like a high paced sort of movement, but they sort of staggered around.
All the others were like lumbering around, and even the guys that were supposed to be athletic is like, you're not doing a whole lot of anything. The killers, they were all propped up to be like super impressive hunters, but really like they all got taken down way easier than they should have been,
To the point where I was like, a part of me would have liked there to have been more than just Man Thing being the monster, and we get Jake later on being a monster, but I wanted to see why they were like so renowned, even if it was like background or stories or flashbacks of them doing a hunt. Like that was one part that I was kind of upset about, not seeing enough of why they're considered so prowless and why.
I think it was just trying to do time.
It's a time constraint, exactly, and I think that they only allowed themselves so much screen time for a project that, by all means, like most, I'd say 70% of the average Marvel going to the theater crowd is gonna skip over because they just don't care. So. They've got characters that people don't really know, and limiting it to this one like special was probably the right move. But I agree. I wish it would have been like a 6-part series. That would have been more fun for me.
It would be more fun. But yeah, so I thought the plot was kind of interesting. The way that you realize Jake is helping the monster escape. That was sort of felt like where it was going the whole time. But the way they do it, the cheesy explosive that he's trying to use,
couldn't get it to work. Yeah. Nice.
Of course, it had a timer that was 7.5 minutes, apparently, as he just given all the time in the world. But I thought all this stuff was fun, and then they get caught, and they get caged. The werewolf stuff was cool. Finally, a little werewolf by night. It took a long time to get to the werewolf, but I'm about that.
He looked good. It was a pretty solid looking werewolf. It looked true to the old horror movies, but also modern enough that reflected on something that we could really get a reaction out of, I'd say. It was practical there was some CGI involved, but it was practical effects, practical costumes, which is definitely the way to go.
Do you think?
Oh, yeah. And I think that the way that they did it in terms of they made sure that we could see that with practical effects when he first transformed and we saw his face and they did close-ups on his face. They wanted us to know, hey, we did this old school right here.
Do you think now that if he ever shows back up again in color, do you think it will still stay?
It looked cheesy if they kept it practical. So no, I think if he makes another appearance, they'll switch it to CGI, which is going to bum some people out. But at the same time, you got to adjust with the times.
Maybe not, though. Maybe if they can do a lot of, when we first see him, there could be moments where it's, very shadowy type stuff or very in the dark with practical effects. At least when we first see him, if we see him in, Midnight Suns or Blade or something like that. I think if they stick to the guns of him being lurking in the shadows, then it'll play off really, really well. But, yeah, if he's, in a brightly lit room trying to fight people, then they're going to have to do CGI.
I mean, I kind of like the costumey look of werewolves. I feel like it's timeless. I feel like it doesn't seem weird even.
Yeah, until you put them in a fight against Abomination, and then it no longer looks like it would really work.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, just pick like you said, like Noah said, you got to pick your spots. You got to pick your battles. Put him in situations to succeed as a practical monster.
Yeah, I mean, we could have got Lou Ferrigno to play Hulk again in the modern MCU, but we didn't do that.
We didn't. But that's different though, because that was actually filmed a long time ago. This was not. I made this decision, and I wanted to stick to it. No, but he said they picked their spots well in this, and he did some jumping around and some killing and some this and that. I thought the smoke effects and the electricity was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
The Bloodstone was good.
Yeah, I'm hoping we need less powerful stones in this MCU. If I get another Infinity War area, just too many Infinity Stones. I don't need all these powerful rocks. This better be the last one they mentioned for a while.
Yeah, I guess
switch it up.
It is funny to think about that. If this would have came out a few years ago, it would have been one of the Infinity Stones.
Exactly.
Would have been who knows?
Instead of the stupid red one that was in Thor: Dark World that everyone hated, the Ether.
That was terrible.
Sure was.
This was good. This was good though. This was fun. I liked what it is. I'm excited for Elsa going forward. I'm excited for Jake. I'm excited for the monster. I liked the look once they were in color. I thought she looked cool once they
the red leather
kind of revealed at the end.
But doesn't she usually have red hair though? That was
she does.
It's nothing. It doesn't take it away from her character.
Isn't it a yellow jacket with red hair?
Is that a bright orange jacket?
Bright orange jacket.
Orange.
I still thought she looked cool. It was a little more Jessica Jones vibe, but good work, Noah. Oh, it's real proud of you there. Push you into oblivion. You ever do that to me again? This is a professional set. Can't have that stuff. I like the look. I really liked the look of the monster once they got out in the woods. I was about that life. Boy.
Yeah, getting to see that in color with Jake and them kind of doing their campfire hangout. That was neat.
At what point did you realize that it did not take place back in?
Probably pretty early on, I'd say. I don't know how. Probably within probably around the same time as you when Elsa showed up. I was like, yeah, this doesn't feel right for the way the area they're going to, like the time era. Just felt wrong.
Did feel weird, and then because I knew who Elsa was, I was like, they definitely want to keep her around. She's not the kind of person who just can be alive for hundreds of years. So this is definitely taking place, which is, I guess, the spoiler of the show is sort of, it wants you to think this is taking place hundreds of years ago, but it's actually taking place in modern times. And
everybody's just weird and acts like they're from that era. Yeah. I mean, they did make sure that every individual one of them looked like eccentric as heck. Like everybody looked weird. That was the way to go.
Yeah, little did we know that they're all just from like bodegas in New York. They actually are really like outside of what we just saw them in. They're very modern. They're construction workers.
That's what I'm saying. They were just like, they're really into their D&D. You know what I mean? They've just been like,
oh my God, this is just recruiting the people from Hawkeye from D&D in the park. And this is what they do now.
And they get in there and they hunt monsters, which is, I mean, it's cool. But I look forward to seeing her.
How do you guys feel about this? Like monsters in the MCU? Do we like it? Do we think they're going to keep going?
What does it mean? You know what I mean? I guess that's kind of what I think is like, what does it mean? How is it different than the things we see in Doctor Strange?
Because there's like a capstone. Like when Doctor Strange was a zombie, that felt like, I think everybody knows like who the main monsters are. You got the Mummy, the Invisible Man, Dracula, the Werewolf. What's the man from the Lagoon?
If you're asking if I specifically want them to show up, then yes, I think that's cool.
Okay, yeah.
Do I want to see the
that's what I'm saying.
Universal, the old school Universal movie monsters? Then yes, I would love for them to show up in maybe next year's special or something.
Frankenstein, I left that one off. Dr. Frankenstein's monster. If you want to be
about it. Don't anyone ever say that. You're not cool.
Yeah, it's just a Ted quote from.
Big in the...
Yeah, there's lots of there's lots of different storylines that have the different monsters. I mean, even things like Hercules and stuff we don't think of as Marvel characters. They all are somewhere, and they all have their own cool storylines, and they've all played with the big Avengers in storylines that you wouldn't really think about. And I think specials like this are good ways to do it because it's sort of low stakes, whereas doing its own show, doing a whole movie, is sort of a little higher stakes. So this is a good low stake way to do
why do you think they chose early October as opposed to actual Halloween or late October? Was there any real logic behind it, or just kind of like this is where it fits? Because they could have waited till She-Hulk was done.
I think the answer is it's not going to be that popular, so you couldn't just like drop it on Halloween and be like, hey, watch it. Because the people wouldn't watch it, and then it'd be like, it would get to Thanksgiving time by the time people started recommending it.
Yeah, like, but we're about to hit a little bit of a dry spell in between shows for Marvel. It seems like they could have extended it 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden you got something filling your Thursday night slot instead of a random Friday. I think
the idea was drop it early, so that way, as word of mouth starts to talk about it, people can watch it by Halloween. Because once Halloween passes,
oh yeah, this show's done. That's a good point.
Thanksgiving, you're in full Christmas mode. You're not going to go back and watch something. So give time for word of mouth because they knew it wasn't going to be popular to drop.
That's a good point. I can see.
God, I love when he does that. Oh. Let's go. Another victory for Coach.
He's doing great out there.
That's all I got to say about it. It's a fun show, and I'm excited for Elsa to be around. I'm excited for Jake. I'm excited for just them to be. I don't know how much they'll be around. Probably just in 1 or 2 things here or there.
Oh, in closing though, why didn't we get Blade? It seems like this is what's going around the internet right now, and for probably Jamie could even clip this up. Everybody give their little couple second why they're okay with it, why they're not okay with Blade not showing up within this special here.
Sometimes I think my answer would be this. Sometimes I'm okay with characters first arriving in their actual movie. Like, I don't need you to show up in something sooner. If you're going to get your own movie and your own show up in that. If you're someone like Elsa, who's probably never going to get her own movie unless she becomes really popular in other people's shows, this is a good way to introduce her. Don't introduce me to Blade in this weird black and white thing. Let me just experience him come the movie.
Yeah. My counterpoint to that is, one, they could have waited to introduce him until the color section. He's already had a vocal cameo in Eternals. Everybody knows he's coming anyway. These are monster hunters. It seems like you would want to get the A-list monster hunter within the MCU, within the Monster Hunter movie. And that's all I got to say about it. I'm happy with how this movie turned out. It was great. But I really would have liked to see Blade because I want to see how he looks in this new MCU.
Would have been cool if Daredevil showed up, but he didn't. So
yeah, but that's a lot less fitting, and you know it.
It would have been cool.
For me, I guess I'm glad that it was self-contained because, and I mean, there was no after credit scene. I think that Marvel is trying to prove, or at least this director was trying to prove, like, hey, you don't need to connect to the next thing. It's a self-contained story and still be equally as good.
Yeah, especially when it's a little special like this. I think that's kind of where I'm leaning towards when it's its own self-contained little special. And again, I kind of go back to my previous answer. They know that this isn't going to have huge numbers. And if you'd have thrown Blade in, it would have just been...
That would have been You don't think there would have been star power? I bet you the Daredevil episode of She-Hulk got 3 times the viewership that the rest of She-Hulk got. So why wouldn't you... It feels like they had all of the tools and they chose not to use them in this scenario. That's all I'm saying. And again, I don't want to knock this film because would he have added a lot to this story? No, not really, but it would have been cool to see him. Give me a post-credit scene. Do something.
I agree it would have been cool, but I'm going to stick with my answer. I'm glad they didn't. That's all I got to say. I thought this was fun. This was cool. Noah, thanks for joining us as always. I think we do have some more House of Dragon stuff, so you can check us out over on the Gotham City Rogues, which will be fun. I'm excited to talk about that. And check us out on YouTube now. Like we said, we're getting some shorts put up, trying to get a little hot takes going, keep the interaction going. Of course, our Facebook group is always a ton of fun.
Yep. If you guys want to get in touch with us and give us recommendations, comment on the YouTube videos, comment on the, post some stuff up on the Facebook group, start a poll, and do whatever you got to do. Just get involved because we want to make sure that we're putting out the best content for you guys. And the only way to do that is when you get your opinion thrown in. So let's do it.
So The first poll, of the 3 of us, who do you think you can beat in a fight?
Noah. I promise you, it's Noah. You can all beat up Noah. Just look at him. He's a soft, cuddly giant. We all love him for it.
All right, that dude is 5'8". Don't tell me giant.
Giant, enormous.
You dick. Now I'm fighting Josh.
I thought we were roughly the same height, about 5'9". So yeah, you got an inch on me. I could see that.
All right, I'll see you guys after She-Hulk. Not that too much fun without us.